Hello, I am Weather Dad. Welcome to my next installment of my educational videos. Today I want to talk about precipitation types. Sounds basic, but there are a few things that I want to discuss that kind of are misconceptions. But before we get into that, I do want to touch on the tropics. In my last video, we were talking about up through Joyce. Since then, Kirk formed. He was a major hurricane, so that's going to go down as having another major hurricane in the Atlantic season. He was a fish storm, though. Did nothing but bother little fishies out there in the Atlantic. Leslie, she spent most of her time as a tropical storm. She managed to strengthen to a Category 1 hurricane. I believe 80 miles per hour was her strongest point. So she will go down as a hurricane, but a fish storm nonetheless. And Milton. We all know about Milton. Devastating destruction shortly after Helene made destruction on Florida. Milton was the fifth strongest hurricane at one point ever in the Atlantic Basin at 180 per hour winds and central pressure under 900. When he made landfall in Siesta Key, Florida on October 9th, it was a Category 3 hurricane with winds of about 120 miles per hour. So still lots and lots of destruction and power. And one of the things with Milton that was very strange is the direction. Milton came from the one part of the Gulf, shot all the way across the peninsula of Florida, going about 25 to 40 miles, I believe, south of Tampa Bay. Very unusual to see track like that for a hurricane. Now on to precipitation. There are many different types of precipitation. The most basic one that we could talk about would be rain. It's a liquid form of precipitation that forms as rain in a cloud, comes down as water all the way down until it reaches the ground. Rain is very basic. Rain is everywhere on the earth, even in deserts. Some places might only see a tenth or 2/10 of an inch in a whole year, but it still gets rain. So rain is the basic precipitation out there, a very big part of the water cycle, where water evaporates, goes up into the atmosphere, forms clouds. The moisture then becomes too dense for it to stay in the cloud, falls down as rain, runs off, cycle goes again, evaporates, condenses, goes up, comes down. So that's rain. Next would be snow. Snow is also one of the basic precipitation types, but it takes a lot to create snow. You need a lot of ingredients to come together, and I'm not just talking about like a snowstorm, nor'easter kind of deal on the East Coast or the Mid-Atlantic. I'm talking about just a snowflake in general. It actually takes a lot to form a snowflake. We can keep the snowflake to reach the ground. First and foremost, it forms as a snowflake in the clouds, well up there in the atmosphere. Then as long as all the way down from cloud to ground, it stays below freezing, and that snowflake never has a chance to melt, it can stay a snowflake and can fall in the form of a snowflake. This is where things get a little bit different, and this is where we introduce a couple of different types of precipitation types. One would be sleet. Sleet is very common in winter scenarios, especially in anywhere where winter storms can happen. So what happens is the snowflake forms up in the cloud, starts coming down, hits a pocket of warmer air above freezing, forms into a raindrop. But then there's another layer of air where it could refreeze again. So once a snowflake melts and becomes a raindrop, it could never form a snowflake again. So it could only do one other thing, and that raindrop freezes into a little ice ball, and that's called sleet. Big difference, big misconception. A lot of people in the wintertime, when it's sleeting outside, will say it's hailing. Hail cannot happen in the winter during a winter storm. It happens during thunderstorms, during severe weather season. So a hail, another precipitation type, has dust particle basically and forms updrafts and circulates in the cloud. Starts up in the cloud, gathers its energy, gets ready to fall, gets caught up in another updraft. Gathers more energy, starts to fall down, keep going. This cycle can keep going, and that's how big a hailstone can get. So you can get hailstones pea size, marble size, all the way up to grapefruit, softball. And if you were to cut a hailstone in half, you would see rings just like on a tree, and that would tell you how many times it actually spun around in the clouds for formation. And again, hail only happens in thunderstorms. It does not happen during a blizzard. That would be sleet. Then there's freezing rain. Freezing rain is another little misconcepted precipitation type. It is not sleet. It is not snow. It is not ice pellets, which is another form for sleet. It's actually when snowflake forms in the upper levels of the atmosphere, hits a warm layer, forms as a raindrop, but then the only other part that's freezing is right at the surface. And what happens, that raindrop hits a surface, it instantly freezes. You get that glaze of ice, that coating of ice everywhere, like an ice storm. Things look like diamonds, they shimmer, and it's the most dangerous of precipitations. Freezing rain is basically a raindrop that freezes on contact. And that is the most dangerous precipitation type. In my opinion, and I would say in most opinions, while snow, rain, and sleet all have their concerns, freezing rain is definitely the worst. There is another form of precipitation called graupel, which is a soft snow, hail kind of combination. Those are rare precipitation types, but they can happen pretty much anywhere in the country. But that's just a basic rundown of precipitations. If you, again, have questions, concerns, comments, please let me know. I would love to continue doing more videos based on any feedback I get from whoever's watching. Please like, subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.